What's up, guys, and welcome to another edition of Terrible Towel Tuesday. I am your host, Sim Football Critic, and we're doing it live again, guys. We're doing it live. Love bringing the live shows to you guys. Like I said, gives you a chance to interact, ask me some questions, give me your thoughts, give me your opinions, etc., etc. So let's go ahead and get right into it, guys. Let's go ahead and take a look at a couple things, man, that I want to talk about today. Definitely want to talk about free agency. You know, that's the main topic. Will the Steelers make a splash in free agency? You know, that's what everyone is wanting to know. I don't know that they will. I don't know if we have enough funds to do so. But hey, you know, maybe we will, maybe we won't. So let's take a look at a couple things, man. Let's consider a couple things first. Let's talk about what the Steelers basically have as far as cap space. Now, right now, man, we really don't have a whole lot of money in terms of cap space. You know, most of you Steelers fans would know that. The Steelers are sitting at about $21 million or so. That's what's being estimated by, you know, various sites. I always like to shout out SteelersDepot.com. Do a great job over there. You know, one half of Dave and Dave. I believe it's Dave Bryant who does the Steelers Depot. If you haven't listened to those guys, man, you can listen to the Terrible podcast throughout the week. They have 3 shows a week. Definitely check that out on iTunes or what have you. But it's Dave and Dave. You know, they have great information, great insight, obviously being connected to the organization. You know, they have a lot of speculation or a lot of information that they can draw from. All right, now, like I said, like it's being speculated by David Bryant over at SteelersDepot.com. The Steelers roughly have about $21 million currently, roughly, in cap space. Now, that's not considering the things that they're going to have to, you know, pay out. They got expenses coming up for the 2017 season that, you know, you have to add into that figure or subtract from that figure. You know, there's a couple different scenarios. You know, I won't steal his thunder. You can definitely go, you know, take a look at his site, SteelersDepot.com. He breaks it down. But he's basically saying, guys, after the Steelers take care of some of the expenses that they have to pay for 2017, it's going to leave the Steelers with right around $12, $13 million, right? Now, that's just considering some things, you know, again, some speculation based on who you think will be there, who you think won't be there, et cetera, et cetera. And it still give us a little bit of money to will and deal a little bit in terms of free agency, but not a lot. But at the same time, guys, you know how the Steelers work. We know the Steelers organization does not normally go out and make big splashes in free agency. They just don't. They don't spend the money like that. You know, Ladarius Green, they was able to get that done. You know, Mike Mitchell, they was able to get that done. But again, these guys are not huge names. You know, Mike Mitchell had a good season with the Carolina Panthers, was able to get him. He was a veteran player at the time. Same thing with Ladarius Green. Ladarius Green made some plays while he was in, you know, San Diego, but he wasn't a big play guy as far as, you know, I don't even want to say consistent. He just wasn't on the field a lot. You know, he had some injury issues and things like that. So they basically signed him off of potential. Not really the biggest or the most attractive name on the market, right? So you have to consider that, man. You know, number one, you have to consider how the Steelers do business. That's the first thing, first and foremost. And number two, the second thing you have to consider is this. Who's out there? Okay? So once we take a look at who's out there and what do you think the Steelers are going to do in terms of, you know, what positions do you think that we need? You know, what's a position of need? Of course, I just said that, but you know, and based on the position of need, how much is it going to cost? All right. So look at it like this. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the free agents, guys. I'll read them off to you. You know, some of the top 100, you know, right at the top of the list, you got an Alshon Jeffrey, which don't expect the Steelers to spend money on a wide receiver. That's not going to happen. Calais Campbell, probably not the biggest concern for the Steelers right now. You know, maybe if somebody like that is relatively cheap, I don't know. Maybe you take a chance. Who knows? Brandon Williams, again, nose tackle is probably not an area where we're going to spend any money per se. You know, if they want to look for another nose tackle behind Hargrave, you may think about draft. You know, I don't think you spend money there. So there's another name that most people were thinking about. I see in the Steeler community, guys are talking about Dontari Poe. Same situation there. I think he would cost too much, and I don't think you need to do that. I don't think you need to spend that kind of money for a nose tackle when we have one. We have Javon Hargrave, who is playing very well for a rookie. He is a rookie. Again, looking at that contract, that's going to be your guy. This is going into his second year, maybe a backup. So you're not going to spend no real money on a backup behind him. You know what I mean? So here's an interesting name, Dante Hightower. Now, the Steelers definitely need some depth at linebacker. I was, primarily thinking outside linebacker, but you have to look at it like this. Because of the cap space and things like that, and because of the fact that Lawrence Simmons didn't get a deal done before, seemingly he won't get a deal done before the 9th, he's going to test free agency. He's a little bit older. Are they going to bring him back? I don't know. How much will he accept to play? So because of that, you have to look at maybe a Dante Hightower, who knows, might be able to play the middle linebacker role or what have you. I know we do have Vince Williams, and obviously Ryan Shazier will be the other starter, but Shazier, let's face it, since he's been with us, he's had some injury issues, hasn't really played a full 16. Maybe that's behind him, maybe not, we'll see. But, you got to think about depth at that position, but at the same time, again, how much are we willing to spend? Are we willing to just get someone in the draft? A lot of questions there. Now, here's a big name right here that a lot of people may or may not know, but he had a great season with the Houston Texans, A.J. Bouye, I think is how you say his name. Cornerback. Now, that's a position of interest for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think if we do anything in terms of free agency, like a splash, I'm thinking it's got to be pass rusher, or it has to be a cornerback. Has to be a cornerback. Or, maybe we jump out the window and we pick a safety to possibly play in place or battle Mike Mitchell for the job, because I still think we need more of a coverage safety in that position. But again, Bouye is probably going to set the standard as far as the money. I don't know if the Steelers are willing to pay that money on a free agent. So it's interesting. You also got Stephon Gilmore, who's, probably going to be around the same. Bouye will probably be the guy that gets more money. He'll probably set the standard. But there's a couple other names out here. I mean, obviously, no Adrian Peterson, Terrell Pryor. A lot of people are saying get him, but we already know the story with that. He's really somewhat of a local kid. I don't think he wants to play in Pittsburgh, because I know Tomlin was high on him, when he got drafted. And then, I think story came out that he didn't necessarily want to play in Pittsburgh, maybe not being too close to home or something like that. So who knows about that, but I'm not worrying about that. Again, we're talking about wide receiver. I don't think we look for wide receiver, with a free agent draft, free agent signing. No, that doesn't make sense to me. So let's look at some other names here that makes more sense. Keep an eye on Nick Perry. That's another guy. Possibly, if he's cheap, possibly make a run at him. Let's see what else we got here, guys. Logan Ryan is another one that could be relatively cheap, maybe in the right price range. So as you can see, I'm focusing my mind on cornerbacks. Micah Hyde is another guy that comes to mind, possible. Even though he's more like a strong safety type of guy. I mean, I'm sure he could play free. But again, this would have to be these guys that are not going to cost too much. He also offers some return capability. So it's a couple things to think about there, man. But one of the guys that really jumps off, the chart for me, which seems possible, and I know they said this on the Terrible Podcast as well. Dave and Dave mentioned this, Jabal Sheard. Jabal Sheard seems like a guy that is productive enough, could help out the Steelers as well, could fit in the price range that the Steelers are possibly willing to spend in free agency. So keep an eye on a guy like that. I see Nick Fairley is out there. Again, he's a D tackle. I don't know if we're going to go that position. The Brandon Marshall situation. Let me talk about that too, because I'm hearing speculation by the Steeler community. You know how we Steeler fans are. Some of you guys just get so overzealous and jumping out the window with these guys that you want us to pick. Don't expect Brandon Marshall. Don't expect Brandon Marshall, guys. I'm sorry. Unless he's willing to play for a championship, meaning he's willing to sacrifice his money. We're not going to spend big money on a wideout. I just don't see it. With just signing Antonio Brown, obviously. You got Martavis Bryant, which we're expecting to be back. He's still on his last year of his rookie contract. You still got Eli Rogers, which I'm pretty sure is going to be solidified in the slot. You know, he did some good things. It was essentially his rookie season as far as play time last year. He's under contract. Sammy Coates is under contract. You know, I don't think they're going to cut him. I think Sammy Coates maybe gets another crack at it as well. You know, again, being a third or fourth guy. Kobe Hamilton was re-signed, and, you know, some of these guys could be re-signed as well because of the roster, you know, having to have a 90-man roster going into camp. So you have to consider some of that. But I just don't think the Steelers make a splash signing at wide receiver. Would I take it? Absolutely. Would I take a Brandon Marshall being your third or fourth receiver? And I say third or fourth because I still like Eli Rogers in the slot. But would you like to see a formation out there with Antonio Brown, Martavis Bryant, and then Brandon Marshall in the slot? Absolutely. Is it going to happen? I don't think so. I don't think so. Again, the only way I think that will happen is if, and only if, Brandon Marshall plays for a championship. Meaning, I'm just going to come here and try to win a championship. I know what my role is. I'm going to accept less money. That's the only way I think that you'll see anything to that regard happen. It's the only way I think it's going to happen, guys. I'm just keeping it real. All right? So let's move on down the list, guys. Let's see who else is out here. Looking at the free agents again. Jared Cook could be possible. Keep an eye on that. We still don't know what's going on with Darius Green, but that might be an interesting, you know, proposition right there. Benny Logan, again, defensive tackle. I don't think nothing like that is going to happen. Prince Amukamara, his name comes up again. I can see Prince Amukamara being the type of guy that might be within the price range that the Steelers would take a chance on. I can see that. All right. And again, here's another big name that's been floating around. You know, there's reports that the Steelers are interested in Dre Kirkpatrick. I feel the same way about Dre Kirkpatrick as I feel about Dontari Poe. I think Dre might command a little too much money. You know, he's a younger guy. You know, right now he's looking to get his money. You know, he's played his contract with the Bengals. This is the prime time for him to get paid. AJ Bouye, again, is going to set that market. And I think Dre Kirkpatrick, him and his agent, I'm sure, are going to try to come in right around there, maybe a little less. I don't think the Steelers spend that type of money. However, if they're able to get him for a cheaper price or in their price range, absolutely I'll take Dre Kirkpatrick. I think he has some upside. You know, I think he definitely has some upside. He has speed. He has length. He's a bigger corner. You know, I think he could work out. You know, it could be somebody who could play opposite an Artie Burns, because I still feel like I like Ross Cockrell, but I have no problem with someone coming in to challenge him for the starting position. No problem with that at all, especially since Ross Cockrell, let's talk about that for a minute. We know right now that he has the tender placed on him, you know, where another team can match. And I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I know there's some scare in the community. Guys are saying, oh, we're going to lose Ross Cockrell. I don't think so. Looking at his value and looking at what a team has to give up, if I'm not mistaken, we got, you know, another team would have to give up a 4th-round pick for him. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think he's made himself that valuable around the league to warrant that, you know, especially with a draft coming up that's deep, very deep, with that they're saying in the secondary. You know, it's a deep class. So I don't see that happening. I think Ross Cockrell will stay with the Steelers under the 1-year tender. However, I'm not opposed of getting a guy like a Dre Kirkpatrick or whoever else, Prince Amukamara, any of these guys, you know, Stephon Gilmore, which I think is going to be out of our price range. With any of these type of guys, I don't mind a veteran coming in and challenging him for the starting position. And let's not forget, the Steelers may draft. They may very well draft a cornerback as well. So I'm not opposed to any of that. I see that guy, what's his name? Jonathan Cyprian, another guy who's out there. He's a strong safety, though, so I'm not sure you think about that. Morris Claiborne from the Dallas Cowboys. Could be the same deal as a Dre Kirkpatrick. You know, maybe I think he's a little bit older than Dre, but he may be looking to try to get one more deal before he knows his time is up. I don't know if the Steelers can afford him, but if they can, I'll take on any of these guys. Now, I know a lot of you guys may sit out there and you may say the same thing I would normally say. I don't know. You know, these guys haven't been that great in the league. What about injury history? I get all of that. But at the end of the day, can you say that these guys could be as good or a little better than Ross Cockrell? Possibly. Like, again, I like Ross Cockrell, but has Ross Cockrell really shown you something and make you say he must be our starter? Think about that. Not saying he can't play, but is there anything within you from Ross Cockrell that makes you say he must be our starting cornerback? I don't think there is, right? He could be challenged, and that's all I'm saying. Sometimes competition brings out the best in others. And again, if Ross Cockrell beats one of these guys out, it's still cool to have one of those guys as your third option. Still need depth at the position. We don't know what's going to happen with Sinquez Golson. So you're already looking at a possibility of William Gay again playing inside the slot. So I don't know, man. I don't know. But other than that, man, I look at a couple of these names, Julius Peppers, maybe, we could use some outside pressure, some help there. If he's cheap, he probably won't cost that much because he's older. He's older. So if he comes back and decides to play, might be somebody you go after. DeMarcus Ware, nah, I wouldn't even go down that road. He's probably going to want some money. He is much older, and he's had some injury issues as well. So other than that, guys, I don't really see anything else here on the list that I would say for the Steelers to go after. Again, like I said, I'm just scrolling through it here. I see Kelvin Beachum is a free agent again. I'm just scrolling through here, guys. I think if the Steelers make any type of noise in free agency, any type of splash, it's going to have to be at the cornerback position or an edge rusher. Will have to be. Nolan Carroll, that's an interesting guy for the Philadelphia Eagles. I like Nolan Carroll, as a cornerback. He's not the greatest, but he shows some potential. So guys like that is what I'm saying. These kind of guys to me are like a Ross Cockrell level. So any guy like that you could say that is kind of like Ross Cockrell, makes some good plays, not a great corner, not a shutdown corner, has an upside. Why not take a chance on some of these guys if they are cheap enough? But other than that, I think we wait until the draft, and there you have it. All right, guys. Now, speaking of the draft, let's go ahead and talk about that a little bit, man. And then after that, I'll look and see what some of you guys may be saying in the comment section. In terms of the draft, it's going to be interesting, man, because I keep saying the same names over and over and over. Hassan Reddick, this guy showed himself at the combine. He definitely did. I still like guys like Taco Charlton. I still like guys like Takarius McKinley. Couple guys, man, that's still on my mind. I still think the Steelers need to go with an outside edge rusher first. Unless maybe there's a DB that you must have, or there's an athlete that you must have, we got to go edge rusher. We got to go traditional edge rusher, or we have to go DN edge rusher or hybrid DN linebacker. You know what I mean? So what's important to know, man, let's take a look at the interviews that the Steelers conducted while at the combine. Because you guys know, you real Steelers fans know the Steelers have a habit of signing guys that they either interviewed at the combine or, well, not signing, but drafting, interviewed the guy at the combine, and or there's a pre-draft visit. So that's something that we're going to keep our eyes on very closely as we move closer to the draft, starting right here with the combine interview. So they interviewed 58 people. And just looking at the positions, that might let you know what the Steelers are going to do in the draft. Pretty much follows what I think we're going to do. All right, so let's take a look. First, they looked at some quarterbacks. They looked at Patrick Mahomes. I think I'm saying his name correctly, the Texas Tech kid. Brad Kaya from Miami. CJ Beathard from Iowa. Josh Dobbs, I'm familiar with him from Tennessee. The kid from Notre Dame, Deshaun Kaiser, and Cooper Rush from Central Michigan. I really don't know exactly who that is. Looking at some of the running backs, I'm not going to name them all, but I'll give some of the names here that keep an eye on because they've been in the news. Deontay Foreman, which is a guy, from Texas that they've been saying the Steelers were looking at, as well as Wayne Gallman from Clemson, just to name a few, and then Jahad Thomas from Temple. Couple wide receivers, guys. The kid from Penn State, Chris Godwin. John Ross from Washington. We all should know who that is, right? And set the record in the 40. Don't know how long he's going to be there, but again, I don't expect the Steelers to go wide receiver not early. Not early. Maybe third, fourth, maybe if they do that, but not early. I don't think it happens early, but, just keep an eye on some of these names. And, you can get a list of that on SteelersDepot.com. You can definitely take a look at that. I'm sure it'll be on Steelers.com as well. And, hey, I'll actually put the link in the description, man, so you guys can look at the list. Let me actually go ahead and do that. I'll post it in the description. So after this is over, come back, look at the description. You'll be able to see that list, that link. And I may be able to do it while we're here on the show right now, but whatever, guys. Let's go ahead and keep it moving. Offensive lineman, they only interviewed 4 guys. Again, this is another position I don't think – nothing early. I don't think we go after anybody early on the offensive line. Tight end. They did interview, looks like about 8 tight ends, so that's interesting. Now, one guy that they did not interview is O.J. Mayo, right? Now, let me tell you why that's important. First of all, the tight end class is deep. It's deep. The Evan Ingram is the kid from Ole Miss. That's a name that's been thrown out there by a lot of people. Jordan Leggett from Clemson, another guy, which is funny. I'll tell you guys a funny story. If you follow me for more than just Terrible Towel Tuesday, in the gaming world, we have a CFM, a connected franchise mode with Madden, and our commissioners, we went and did the draft. We kind of created our draft class. We edited the draft class and all of that, and I actually have that dude Leggett on my team on the Steelers. That's kind of crazy, right? Just a little irony there for you guys. But yeah, man, the key thing to know about O.J. Mayo is that this is the thing. Not Mayo, Howard. O.J. Howard. I keep saying Mayo. The fact that the Steelers didn't interview him, it is not 100% telltale, but it tells me one thing. They don't expect to draft a tight end in the first round. O.J. Howard is probably going to be gone in the first round. He's going to probably be out of there. He showed up pretty good. I mean, more than good at the combine. I don't think he's going to stay there for long. There's going to be somebody that thinks this kid is the real deal. It could be the New England Patriots. Let's be honest. He might get up out of there at 32. And the Steelers are very calculated. Again, if you follow them, and it's probably every team in the league, but we're talking about our team. The Steelers are calculated. You look at the people they interview in the pre-draft visits. Those are always the telltale stories of who they have their eyes on. Tight end, obviously, is somebody they're probably looking to get around the 4th round or so. You look at a lot of these guys on the list, they're probably going to be around that time, 3rd, 4th, 5th round. Somebody like Howard, no, he's not going to be there. All right, defensive line, we only looked at 4 guys, but here's the big one. Outside linebacker. Look at all of these names. A lot of the names that I've mentioned and a couple of names that I didn't mention. Look at all these guys that they interviewed. Derek Rivers from Youngstown State. His name is getting thrown out there big time. Hassan Reddick, one of the main guys I talk about. Ewan Price, Tim Williams from Alabama, DeMarcus Walker from Florida State. I know all about him being a Nose fan. Terrell Basham from Ohio. TJ Watt from Wisconsin. Carl Lawson from Auburn. Keep an eye on Carl Lawson. I haven't said his name much, but that might be a guy Steelers may grab. Devontae Fields, JoJo Mathis, Tashawn Bauer, Fadal Brown, Ryan Anderson. Y'all remember me talking about him from Alabama? Do y'all remember me talking about this guy? And Devontae Fields. Now, they got Devontae Fields here twice, so I think that's a misprint. Here's the thing. Could be one of these guys. Again, keep a close eye on who we interview. And then they got a couple guys here. They said off-ball linebacker Duke Riley and Austin Calitro. Not necessarily sure who that is, from Vanderbilt. Now, cornerback, there's only 5 guys that they interviewed. They interviewed Trey Devarius White from LSU, Nate Harrison from Temple, Marquez White from Florida State. I know all about him. Shaquille Griffin from Central Florida, and Cameron Sutton from Tennessee. And then they interviewed a couple safeties. Now, here's one name that they interviewed, Desmond King. That's another guy y'all heard me talk about a few weeks ago. So I'm just saying, man, looking at those guys, if I had to take a guess at it, it's going to be one of the guys from outside linebacker and edge, one of those guys, edge rusher / outside linebacker is probably going to be the guy the Steelers go after. I'm thinking Hassan Reddick if he's there, just based on how he performed. Derek Rivers definitely has a shot as well. And then also Carl Lawson, looking at this list. And Ryan Anderson. I mean, I'm torn between those four. Now, remember, I mentioned some other guys before. I mentioned Otako Charlton, and I mentioned Karras McKinley and these guys. But now I'm starting to tighten my list a little bit based on what I see the Steelers doing, looking at the guys that they interviewed. So you never know how it's going to turn out, man, but I feel like that's probably where they're going to go. And I thought I had some more news here to report to you guys. Some of y'all are going to hate this. Landry Jones. What do we do with Landry Jones? And let me explain myself real quick. As of right now, we still haven't heard from Ben Roethlisberger. Now, I feel like he's going to come back. Probably so. But the fact that we haven't officially heard, the Steelers have to be alarmed a little bit, just a little bit. Now, let's keep in mind, the coach and the player has probably talked. But let's just assume that they haven't. You have to keep that in the back of your mind. And here's the reason why. Number one, you have to draft a quarterback this year. Maybe not a starter. No, we ain't looking for a starter. We're looking for the next guy that's going to hopefully take on the role of the starting quarterback beyond Ben Roethlisberger. You got to look for that guy in this draft because that's what they were attempting to do when we drafted Landry Jones. Didn't quite pan out. You got to look for that guy in the draft anyway. I'd say 4th, 5th, maybe 5th round, maybe 4th, depending on who we get in the first 3, because you want to get a solid guy, right? So we got to consider that first and foremost. But number 2, you have to consider your third. Who's going to be your third stringer? Now, I know Mettenberger is in the building, but is he going to beat out Landry Jones? What you have to consider, I know y'all don't want to hear this, but it's the truth. Landry Jones knows the system. Landry Jones, as a third-string quarterback, I don't have a huge problem with. Or maybe he competes, and now he really knows his career is on the line because he tests free agency and he realizes that nobody's really trying to give me any money. They may, but I doubt it. And he has to come back to the Steelers. Let's say the Steelers can get him, and I'm stealing this from SteelersDepot.com. This is a good number that Dave Todd threw out there. Let's say the Steelers can get him for a 2-year deal for $5 million. You probably take that. Anything above that, let him walk. Let him walk. And you just go with Mettenberger and whoever you draft. But we have to look at all of these things, man. I know Landry Jones has not been what we've wanted. Y'all have heard me complain about him the most. But he shows signs of at least being able to back up for a game. Like that last Cleveland game. He showed a little bit in that game where he has some, make a few mistakes, but come back and get the win in the end. He has that in him a little bit. Enough to be comfortable as a backup. And, let's be fair to him. We've never seen him in a situation where he was the starter consecutive weeks or 6 games in a row, or et cetera, et cetera. So I'm with you guys. I don't like Landry Jones like that. But in the grand scheme of things, if he's cheap and can, in regards to NFL standards as your third stringer, like he has been for the last couple years, the only reason he was the number 2 is because the other guys either got hurt or they didn't pan out. I don't have a problem with that. But we'll see how that goes. So it's going to be interesting, man, seeing if guys like Moats get re-signed and Landry Jones and Timmons, because, again, going back to the Jabbar Shear thing, guys like that you might be able to bring in with the exchange of money. You cut one guy like a Moats and bring him in, it could possibly happen. So I'm interested to see what kind of news is out there. I know right now, guys, we're at about 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. I know as of right now, it started at 12 noon, the tampering period, as they're calling it, before free agency actually starts on the 9th. You never know. what could be happening right now. So I'm very interested to see what's going to happen. The Steelers made a splash early last year, the last couple years when free agency opened. So let's see what we're going to do. We may not do anything, and that could be a telltale sign. But that's about all I got for you guys, man. This was a pretty lengthy show. Let me see what some of you guys may be saying, and then we'll get up out of here. What's up, Vargas Brown? What's up, Tay Johnson? There's a lot of good defensive players coming into the league this year. Absolutely. Vargas Brown says, what about moving Sean Davis to free safety and signing Cyprian to play strong? Mike can come in a sub package. Not too opposed to that. However, I like Sean Davis where he's at. Me personally, I think that my idea would be to have somebody play with Sean Davis versus switching Sean Davis around. I like Sean Davis where he's at because he's blitz capable. Of course, you could always create a package for that, but you know what I'm saying. I like him as strong safety because he's more of a run supporter as well. He's a hitter. I like him in that position versus being at free because even you can bring him down and put him on the tight end. Again, packages could dictate all of that, even if he is actually the free safety. But I say keep him where he's at. Find somebody else that can play free safety. However, I would not be opposed to what you said. If it means having Mike Mitchell rotate in and Cyprian becoming the starting strong safety and moving Sean Davis, not opposed to that. I just wouldn't do that unless you have to. And I hate thinking about the life after Roethlisberger. Hey, man, it's going to happen, man. It's going to happen. Big Ben is getting up there in age, man. It's going to happen. Sucks, but, the man's going to, what is he going to be, 35 this year? And he's had so many injuries. The way he plays, the way he plays really is his liability. He's not going to change the way he plays. I mean, we love him for how he plays, but because of that, that could be the reason why his career, is coming to an end. I mean, what is he going into his 14th season, I believe? That's a long time, man. He's got a couple rings. I don't know if Ben finishes his contract. We'll see. We'll see. But I think Ben definitely wants another ring. I think he realizes he has an opportunity right now to end his career fighting for a championship. Another good 2 years. We'll end the show with this. You think about that offense that we got, that we could potentially have. Think about an offense, man. Let's put all the pieces on the table and see if it falls that way. You think about an offense with Antonio Brown. Opposite him, Martavis Bryant. Martavis Bryant, the 1 and 2 punch is AB and Martavis Bryant. With a healthy Le'Veon Bell. With a healthy Ben Roethlisberger. With a healthy offensive line that played like they played last year. Offensive line did a great job last year in the grand scheme of things. With a healthy Ladarius Green. With a second-year Eli Rogers. That's a scary offense, man. With a Jesse James who can be your possession guy, can allow you to go 2 tight end sets. You know what I mean? It could be pretty serious. Could be pretty serious on that offense. And who knows who the 4th receiver is. Maybe you get a healthy Sammy Coates. And yeah, I'm going to say a healthy Sammy Coates. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he was our big play guy early in the season until he broke the fingers. After that, something happened. Probably a combination of the injury as well as psychological, and he wasn't the same. But I will take him if he's healthy as my 4th guy. Why not? He was a deep threat guy for us last year. So you look at that and think about this package. Think about a lineup where it's AB, Martavis Bryant, move Sammy in the slot, Ladarius Green, and Bell in the backfield. The opportunity is there offensively. All the Steelers have to do is get better defensively, and they're right there. I think they've set themselves up to be definitely next couple years, maybe 2 to 3 years, granted, a healthy Ben or a team with Ben. They got a shot. I don't know if they win it. I don't know. But they have a shot to be one of the best teams in the AFC with that package. Defense just needs to improve a little bit. And when I say a little bit, I'm talking about going from, say, if we were ranked the 15th defense, maybe move up to 10. That's all. A few more stops here, A few more stops here, a few more stops there, and the Steelers is right there. Because offensively, when they're clicking, it's hard to stop them. That's all I'm saying. So that's going to do it for this episode, man. I like doing it live, because it's on the fly, and this one went pretty long. But, hey, I think you guys don't mind that. So next week, we'll come back and talk about some more things. Maybe next week we'll be talking about a free agent signing. So we'll see what that's all about. So without further ado, guys, I definitely want to thank you guys for coming through. I appreciate everybody who's here live on the show, and I appreciate everyone who will see it in the archive. Definitely, man, leave your thoughts in the comments. Steelers fans, I want to hear what you guys have to say about the team, what you expect, what you want, what you hate, what you love, et cetera, et cetera. And there you have it. So, all right, man. Appreciate it. See you guys next week. Y'all take care. Peace.